Call of Duty's Warzone DMZ doesn't come with much for instruction. Now, the faction missions, they act kind of like a quasi-tutorial system, but the problem is that in order to get through all of them, you have to have a lot of hours in the game and progress a long ways. So you don't get part of the tutorial unless you complete a mission. This video is to help you shortcut that process and take my dozens of hours in the game and the best tips I've come up with and give them to you so you can be better at your gameplay. Now, rolling right into it, tip 1 is how to get your riot shields after you deploy. Now, I don't know if this is an intended mechanic or a bug, so it may be patched out at some point, so keep that in mind. But when you kill AI with riot shields normally, whether you're shooting them or blowing them up with grenades or whatever, the shield just vanishes before it even hits the ground. You have no chance to pick them up. However, I discovered an interesting trick that'll let you loot them if you're quick. Now, the shields can be pretty crazy to use in DMZ because players aren't used to seeing them on other players, and it can be an especially good way to fight the Juggernaut, especially now that he's got DDoS and you can't just run him over with a vehicle or shoot him with the mounted gun on the LTV. The trick is simple. Bring thermite. When you hit the shield carrying AI with a thermite, they throw the shield on the ground and it stays there for a few seconds so you can pick it up before it despawns. And that's it. Now, keep in mind that with the riot shield, once you extract with it, you do not get to keep it. It will not let you put it in contraband. So this is what makes me kind of think that it's not an intended mechanic with Warzone DMZ, or at least this is a way they balance it. I'm not totally sure. Now, tip number 2 is really simple, but it can save your fingers a lot of stress. Sometimes you just have to run in DMZ and you have to run a long ways and your finger will get tired holding that W key. Luckily, there's an auto run / walk. Its default bind is H. And the way it works is if you're walking when you hit H, or if you're running when you hit H, it just holds it. So it's kind of like holding the run button for you. This is useful for some of those long runs away from the radiation or to your next point of interest. So just keep it in mind next time that if your finger's getting tired, tap that H button and you're good to go. Tip number 3 is for gun unlocks. For those that are playing the free version, i.e. they didn't buy Modern Warfare 2.0 and they didn't grind guns, DMZ provides a mechanic for you to quickly get guns unlocked and not necessarily level them up through the progression. If you extract with a gun you do not have access to, it unlocks it for future use in your insurance slot, or in Warzone, for example. It'll unlock it across all platforms. And in the case of the M13B, for example, at least for now, that is the only way to unlock it, is by either extracting with a player who has it or killing the chemist and extracting with his weapon. Now, tip number 4 is one that is obvious to some players and might not be realized by others, and it's that you can open locked doors from inside without having a key. And this might not sound like much, but it has a few important uses. First, some locked areas have skylights or open roofs. You can get inside the building if you can get on top of it. Then you can walk up to the door and unlock it from inside and let your teammates in, or get yourself another quick way out. Now, this is important for places like the Sawa Village Hotel, where there's a task that requires you to get into room, I think 303 or something like that. But the key can be hard to find. You don't need it. Just climb on the roof by the ladder, drop down in into the hotel room, and you can loot the Golden Desert Eagle. And on top of that, the 2 rooms here that are locked have a ton of loot inside of them. It also means that you don't have to use up your keys. Some buildings have multiple doors, like the embassy or the police station or the post office. You don't always need to use all of those keys if you can get to the door from inside and open it up. This gives you multiple ways in and out. If you're running laps to buy stations to sell stuff, keep that in mind. You don't need to use those uses up on your key. Now, the next one is for mostly if you're playing with friends. If you're down but not out, you can actually speed up the revive with a self-revive and not use it up. All you have to do is hold F. Now, if you have a self-revive, you have to hold F to get the revive to complete. But you get a progress wheel, and if you stop holding F, that progress wheel stops and you don't revive, right? Well, that progress wheel applies to your ally's revive. So if you get it most of the way done, when your ally runs up, all they essentially have to do is tap you to complete that progress wheel. And then it doesn't burn up your self-revive, but it gets you picked up much quicker. Now, tip number 6 builds on this. A lot of people might not realize it, that the revive pistol can also self-revive as well. And it will actually prioritize this over your self-revive. So if you have both a revive pistol and a self-revive, it'll use the revive pistol first. Now, it uses the pistol up completely, even if it has all 4 of its uses, but it's better than dying. But keep in mind, this one will not let you use tip 5. There's no progress. Once you start using the revive pistol, it's just a use and it goes. The one thing to this, though, is you have to make sure it's equipped. It cannot be in your backpack. If it's in your backpack, it will not give you the option to use it. Now, tip number 7 has to do with down players as well, but this is on the other end if you have downed a player. If you come up on a downed enemy, you're able to interrogate them. Now, this is super hard because all of us want to kill down players right away, plus you're kind of exposed doing it, and sometimes maybe you want a fancy execution. But if you could hold off, you can interrogate the player, and it will give you a overlay on your screen, essentially, on your UI, showing you where players are at. Now, it doesn't show it on your mini map, but as you're looking around, it'll highlight the outline of the players if they're within range. This can be incredibly helpful to hunt them down, figure out if the guy's by himself, or get away from players depending on the situation. Now, tip number 8 is not one you might use a lot other than screwing around, but it provides an interesting method of extracting, especially for solo players. The extract doesn't require you to be inside the helo, just on it somewhere. Now, there are places all over the helo you can land on and stand and sit and crouch and whatever. The front of it, the top, the sides, the tail, hanging off of the ramp or the doors, all of these work. You will extract. The big one is on top though, because if you play DMZ solo, you know how hard it is to get out, especially towards the end of the raid. This provides you a way to get out without players being able to shoot you and sometimes even know you're there. The blades don't hurt you, so you can drop right through them and ride the helo out on top. Now, tip number 9 is using some of the in-game mechanics to help out with some of your other goals. Now, aside from a few missions, most players just ignore the SAM sites. These are the big missiles that once you capture them, they shoot down the transport airplanes in the air and drop weapon crates and stuff. But they will also shoot down any other aircraft, including AI helicopters and player helicopters. Now, we all know how much of a pain in the ass the AI can be in DMZ, especially when they swarm. And the longer you stay in an area, especially if you're doing missions, the more and more show up, usually on helicopters. Well, one thing you can do is turn on the SAM sites, regardless if you have a mission or not. The beauty of this, they will shoot down the AI helos, keeping those AI players or AI bots from ever showing up. And they won't just shoot down the transports way up in the air. And as a bonus, if a player gets too close or they think they want to come get you, they won't be able to do it with a helicopter. So this makes a great system for assisting looting or defending an area, depending on what you're doing in each of your DMZ missions. Now, along with SAM sites, you also have UAV towers as stationary support sites, and this is tip number 10. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is how to distinguish AI from players on their mini map or regular map when they're using these and they get the pings and it shows the red diamonds. And it's actually pretty simple. Open diamonds are AI. Closed diamonds are players. Now, for whatever reason, advanced UAVs don't distinguish anything, unfortunately. Everything's just a red circle with a directional indicator. But if you kind of watch, you can usually distinguish players from AI based on movement. Now, tip number 11 is one that I use all of the time now, even though I've got tons of guns unlocked and other stuff like that. Its shotguns are incredibly effective against AI. Now, they don't get a lot of use in DMZ because they're not great for killing players, and I was one who too hardly used them. But one day I was running basically 0 to hero runs just to try it out and see the challenge, and it led me to running around with a shotgun. And I quickly realized how effective they are against AI. Nose to nose, they will one-shot even the lower tier armored troops, and one-shot headshot them even a little further away. Now for me, my preference, if I can, is I run the 890, and it lets you have faster reloads because it's got a mag, and with the 12-round mag, you have plenty of ammo. On top of that, AI drops tons of ammo. There's ammo sitting all over the place, so you just never run out of the shotgun rounds. If we're doing missions where I know we're going to be fighting tons of AI, I almost always bring the shotgun along because it's so much more effective, and I can save my ammo of my SMG or my sniper or my other guns for players where it's more important. Now, we're going to round out the tip with one that I thought might be obvious, but I realized as I streamed and played that a lot of players don't realize this. Now, new to Warzone 2.0 and DMZ is vehicles require fuel. And filling up at a gas station is pretty simple. You get up close enough and overfuel whatever, your boat, your car, your helicopter. Filling up at a gas station can leave you really vulnerable. And refilling helos especially, not only is it vulnerable, but it's challenging to do sometimes without crashing or bumping your helo around and messing it up. But fuel cans can be used to refuel your vehicle. I didn't test every vehicle, but the ones I did test, the can fills up 50% on the tank. It doesn't matter if it was a little four-wheeler or a big helo. To use it, just open up your inventory when you are in the vehicle and left click on the fuel. And boom, right that, you fill the vehicle. Now, anyone who is driving or seated as a passenger can do this, but it doesn't work for folks that are essentially standing on the vehicle. So if folks are carrying extra gas and they have to make sure that they climb in the vehicle to do it. So this won't work with the big transport helo in like Warzone. And if you're in the back of the truck, or even if you're in a vehicle but you're standing on it, you have to actually be seated for it to work. All right, well, that wraps it up. 12 tips. I had an idea for a bigger video that was 50, but I wanted to do this one to see how you guys responded to it. So make sure you let me know in the comments if you guys like the video, if you like the style, if you want more of them. We've got tons of stuff we can do. And if you're still watching now, I imagine you liked the video, so do me a favor, hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of this DMZ or Warzone style comment, Call of Duty stuff. We'll be doing it along with EFT. We're not giving up on that. We're doing both, so you can see both of those or either or if you want. Quick shout out to my music on Spotify. Link is down in the description. Free to listen to. 140 songs, 8 albums, 2 genres. It's free to listen to. It supports us. It does it through ad revenue, just like YouTube does. And as a key thing, if you're a content creator, you are free to use it in your YouTube videos or streaming, whatever you want. We will not DMCA strike you, copyright strike you, whatever, like the nasty record labels will. This is meant for content creators to use, so use it if you want to. We just ask that you attribute us and let us know. But we'll wrap it up with that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.